This just shows how vulnerable US can actually be. Democracy in question here. How vulnerable is US security right now?
Well, look, I mean, Caroline, it's very vulnerable. I mean, nation states are gaining additional capabilities. We know that Russia and China have advanced capabilities, but other nation states, North Korea, Iran, have conducted efforts here in the United States against private sector companies, offensive attacks, Las Vegas Sands Corporation, and we know about Sony Corporation.
We also know plenty of hacks at the top of the agenda throughout the week. But Jamil, you are at the heart of helping sort of build the backbone of what is now cybersecurity policy in the United States. What is missing? What more needs to be done by the tech companies that surround me here to help protect big authorizations, big companies, and indeed the government?
Well, look, the industry and the government need to come together and work together more effectively. We don't have a national policy on how we're going to deal with a major nation-state attack against us. We don't have a clear government policy, and we don't have a clear ability for the government and the private sector to work together. So we've got to find a way to bring the two together and defend the nation in cyberspace.
Defending the nation, does that mean, as Obama puts it, retaliation? What would that involve?
Well, look, I think clearly if a nation state comes after the United States, whether it's in cyberspace or in real space, we need to respond, and we need to respond swiftly and with clarity. And so you don't have to respond to cyber in cyberspace, but you do have to respond. And if, in fact, Russia was responsible, which it appears they were, it is critical that the United States respond and respond swiftly.
It's interesting. Rex Tillerson, now Secretary of State-elect, it would seem, he obviously had relationships with Russia in the business community. What does it mean going forward for relationships between the US and Russia from a diplomatic standpoint?
Sure. I mean, look, Rex Tillerson was the CEO of a major U.S. company. They obviously had dealings in Russia. They had oil dealings there, not surprising. And he built relationships for that. Now, he, as Secretary of State, he's going to have a very different role. He's going to represent the U.S. government and our policies in the international community and with Russia. And so he's going to take the U.S. government line, not the ExxonMobil line. That's his job. And I'm sure he'll do it effectively if he gets confirmed.
But what will that US government line be? It seems to be a warmer embrace being showed to Russia. What does that mean in terms of cybersecurity? Will the walls get higher as they offer perhaps a warmer inclination towards a country through acts and deeds, but maybe more protecting themselves from a cybersecurity point of view?
Yeah, well, look, with no doubt we have to protect ourselves very effectively on cybersecurity. It's not just Russia, it's China, North Korea, Iran. But look, it's unclear whether the administration, in fact, will have a warmer relationship with Russia. I know that people have taken that view because of the statements that President-elect Trump has made during the campaign and Mr. Tillerson's relationship with Russia. I wouldn't assume that. Russia's doing a lot of bad stuff in Europe. They're getting involved in Ukraine. They're involved in Syria in a very interesting way, in a way that sometimes may look supportive of the U.S., but also is very problematic for the Syrian rebels that we're supporting. And so, Russia is not a good actor in this space, and the notion that somehow we're going to dramatically warm relationships, I think, is not necessarily how it's going to go.
Jamil, I thought it was really interesting you naming other countries there. Talk to us about the key risk at the moment when it comes to U.S. security, U.S. policy, U.S. companies and organizations. Is Russia the number one threat, or is there more that you see to come? And will it just be cybersecurity that we need to be worried about?
Well, look, I think internationally we've got a lot of security issues to worry about. We've got ISIS growing in power. Although we've taken some actions against them in Iraq and Syria, we've got Russia increasingly aggressive in Europe. We've got China increasingly aggressive in the South China Sea. On cyber in particular, China and Russia are the leading actors. Now, in particular, I think for our companies, we need to really look at the Chinese situation with intellectual property theft. It's a huge problem. It's been going on for a while now. The president has taken some action, and it looks like the Chinese will walk some of it back. It still continues, however, and we should not forget that the core of the American intellectual economy today is our intellectual property. If that walks out the back door to China and is given to Chinese companies, that's a disaster for our economy, well outstripping any other problem.